Alright, we got a 2018 Dodge Journey, and it's got the 4-cylinder, and the exhaust manifold is leaking, and we're going to do a video on taking this apart. It's probably going to be a little longer because I'm going to do a little bit more details on this. Alright, so this is the manifold that we got. It's a dormant item. This is what it looks like. These are the gaskets. These gaskets look pretty good. They got like a metal crush sleeve there, and this is an MLS stainless looking gasket. Looks like it came with some pretty good bolts, new lock nuts and washers, so we're good with that. So the reason why I'm showing this is because the way the manifold is on the vehicle installed means that the bolts are behind this heat shield. So this heat shield will have to come off of the new one and off of the old one. So that's where I'm going to start at. To get to the bolts, of course, you're going to have to go in through the top and get those 4 out. You can see them real easy right here. This is where we'll get started. I'll put some lubricant on the bolts on that catalytic converter. I don't think the catalytic converter will have to come off. It looks like they're through bolts, or not studs. So if they were studs, then that'd be a little different, be a little bit more trouble. But if that's the case, I'll have to, take the exhaust system apart a little bit further. We'll just have to look at that and see how it goes. But that's how things look so far. I'll take you guys to the next step in just a minute. Alright, so I got those 4 bolts out. They're long. They're 10 millimeter. I used my air ratchet to get them out, so that's why I didn't put that in the video, because it's really loud and it'll blow everybody away, so we don't want to do that. Alright, so let's see. That thing comes out fairly easily. The new manifold's a little different. It doesn't have through bolts like that. So just have to keep an eye on some of that stuff, how it's different. Alright, so these bolts are 13 millimeter, the ones that go into the block, and you can see where the crack is right here. There's a big old crack right there. I'm going to get these bolts out and we'll get to the next step. Okay, so far so good. I got the 4 nuts off. Okay, there's 4 13 millimeter nuts around this flange that holds the exhaust. Now these are 12 millimeter, but I think they're captured or swaged in there. I hadn't tried to beat them out yet, but I think I can get enough movement out of the exhaust system to move it back enough to get this thing out. Manifold's not loose yet because it has the 2 corner bolts are still here. I left those in because I wanted to see if I had enough space. So those 2 corner bolts are studs, and if I have to take the stud out, I just need to figure that out right now. It looks like I can get clearance, almost enough clearance. We'll see in just a minute. Well, you can't beat that. I got it back pretty good. Now there's a clip right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a metal clip right here. So instead of unplugging the oxygen sensors, I just popped this little metal clip loose from that heat shield, and that gave me enough slack in these oxygen sensor wires. They're not tight, they're close, but all this is back far enough. It looks like I can get it out once I get those 2 studs at the top off. But I have enough room to get it out, have enough room to get in here with my tool and clean this off, and I can even look in there and see my catalytic converter, so I'll check that out in a minute too. But I just found a place under the car that I could hook the ratchet strap to and just clicked it out, and the whole exhaust system is hanging on those little rubber hangers, so it just moved back real easy, no problem. Alright, so that's the nut for one of the studs, and the other one, the whole stud came out. It doesn't have an Allen head on it, so if it comes out, great. If it doesn't, well, you're gonna have to mess around with that a little bit and get in here with some pliers, or double stack these nuts. You can double stack the nuts on there like that. If one comes out, you can use a nut for the other side to get it out if you have to. I don't think you have to. Right now I'm working on that, getting this little feller out. But I'm kind of surprised, man. I did all this from the top, which is kind of cool. I did not know I was going to do it all from the top. And this bolt at the bottom, you can see that the bottom bolt is integrated into that bracket. And of course this stupid heat shield fell down. It wouldn't come out, so there you go. So that's the extent of this deal here. If you want to keep watching, you can keep watching while I clean and put this thing back together. But for the most part, this is a pretty simple job. Just that new manifold is just a tiny bit different. The old manifold has the lower heat shield. The nuts are captured in the heat shield like this right here. So it's a little different, but I'd rather have it the other way. You could just install the heat shield onto the new manifold before you put it on the bottom heat shield. Just put it on there so you don't have to mess with it afterwards, because I think it's going to be a tricky job. Because right now I'm doing this all from the top, except for the strap and moving the exhaust back. Okay, so I found a juicy little tidbit here. So I stuck my little camera, I have a borescope camera, stuck it down in there and looked at the catalytic converter, and there was just a bird nest of shit in there. So I got it all out with the magnet, and I was like, where'd that come from? So this flange here has like a little bellows on it that articulates a little bit, and I think that the inside of this bellows is deteriorating and falling apart a little bit, and that explains where some of that metal came from, because there was a whole bunch of metal pieces that looked like this, just all stacked up down there in front of the catalytic converter. So I got them all out with a magnet, so fortunately I checked that. Hopefully everybody else can check that too. The only way to fix that is to replace that whole thing. Alright, so I cleaned up the head surface contact area. I took that nut off of that stud. Now you want the short side of that stud to go in, okay? The long side of the stud, this side, goes out towards the manifold. Just make sure when you put that stud in, you put it in all the way. It needs to be properly inserted into the head with all the threads. Okay, if you don't do that, you only got 2 or 3 threads on it, it'll pull the threads out, aluminum head, then you got 10 times more work, 10 times more problems. So, and also I'm going to put this exhaust manifold gasket on there, and it doesn't have an inside or an outside orientation on it. The small protrusions are the same on both sides. I think, hold on, it does have an orientation. Let me check it. Okay, whoops, sorry about that. It does have an orientation. It does have a little dot there, and that's on the driver's side, and the dot is on the lower. It goes down, okay? So that's the way it goes on. The other side, the passenger side, looks like this. The edge is just straight like that. So the driver's side of the engine with that little dot in the downwardmost position, and that's it. Put that little booger on there. Hopefully it won't fall off while you're putting the manifold on. If it does, I mean, you could put a spot of glue on it if you have to. Some super weather strip adhesive or contact adhesive or something, just to hold it in place, but I don't think it's necessary. Alright, so going in with the manifold from the top, and you need to lower it down and line it up with that stud down there on the bottom. That stud down there is kind of nice, actually. And then, you know, then you just slide it into the top studs and you're done. Now what I would say is be careful when you're doing this, because you've got the catalytic converter hole, the hole to the exhaust system is open there. And so if you drop a nut or drop something in there, well, you're gonna have to fish it out. So I say do the minimum amount of work that'll hold this manifold on, and then put that lower pipe on there, so you don't have to worry about dropping something in there. Something that, you know, just more work. You don't want to have to mess with it. You might not be able to get it out, and if there's no element in there, it's going to fall way down in the exhaust system and make funny noises. Nobody likes funny noises. Alright, so now that stud on the bottom there, it may be enough to hold this gasket. I don't know. Probably have to realign things. It's kind of cool though that this flange here has slots in it. I didn't see those slots before. I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it, but now that I see those slots, that's not too bad. But anyway, I'm gonna go into there and release that strap and let this thing go back into place. And don't forget about this little clip over here. There's a clip over here for the oxygen sensor wires. Okay, so I went ahead and reused the original bolts in here. I like those better. And then on the bottom here, you can get to these pretty easily from underside the car. So when you go to the underside of the car and you deal with the 3 on the bottom, you'll see that the bolt on this side is difficult to get to. You can't put it in because of the heat shield. So what I did is I got the bolt and turned it around and put it in from the bottom and put the nut on top, and I had to bend the heat shield out of the way a little bit on this side. So it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it's just something that you have to, something you have to deal with. I like the original bolts better. The original bolts were in perfect condition, so I went ahead and reused those. All right, so I've got the bolts in except for these outer bolts that go on the corners, the bottom corners, okay? That heat shield is in the way there too. So I'm gonna have to bend that to get to it. I suppose if you wanted to spend the time, you could take the heat shield back off, put everything on, and then put the heat shield on. I don't know if it's worth it to do that right now. If I had known that the heat shield was going to be in the way this much, I would not have put it on. So the bottom part of the heat shield is sort of in the way a lot. The factory heat shield was not in the way at all because it all came off, right? Okay, so I got the heat shield on. Kind of had to mess around with it a little bit, bend it in to get those end bolts in, but I got it all in. Wasn't that big of a deal. I'll show the bottom of the manifold down there in just a moment. All right, so this is what it all looks like from below. You can see that the bolts on that heat shield are way up there. I mean, they're far up there. So, and you can't get two hands in here. So, like I'm reaching around the subframe so I could touch this. This is the one I put in backwards and put the nut on top, and it's kind of bent that heat shield back so I can get to that nut up there. And the original bolts obviously they have splines on them, but they don't fit. You know, they're not going to hold like they were from the factory. So that one there, I ground it down a little bit so it would go in there a little easier. And this one here obviously won't catch at all. And I've just got some vice grips on it because it's a one-handed job. That's it. And of course this bottom one, I did not remove the bolt, I just removed the nut. It's on this bracket. So that was really nice. That was a helpful thing. But the options on that heat shield are low. I don't know about taking it off and putting it on after the fact. I don't know about that. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody. You'll have a good day. Please like, please subscribe. Please give me some comments. Thank you.